Within the cloud and Stadia communities, there's a raging debate. Does Stadia need to upgrade its hardware ASAP in order to keep up? Well, an article I recently discovered may shed some light on this. See as Stadia debate over new hardware just got more interesting. It's SDO Daily, baby. Let's get into this one. What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It's your boy MM2KF, PNTS Network, and StadiaDosage, back again with another SDO Daily. Can you do us a huge favor before we get into this one? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when your boy's dropping these doses. We appreciate all of y'all straight up. Y'all know the deal. Y'all know the reason. And by now, y'all should know the slogan. We are not too proud to ask. All right, so let's get right into it. There's been much debate over Stadia's need to upgrade hardware ASAP, and some people feel that that is due now more than ever, either because A, recent game performance on the platform, B, the release of GFN's 3080 tier, or C, the new console performance. However, there is another side of the argument. Many people feel that hardware upgrades now would be pointless because statistically, the target demo may be fine with the current performance. The platform is not competing at the moment with next-gen hardware. Or lastly, the upgrades would be underutilized anyway, causing more issues. Well, an article I discovered might help shed light on which approach is more sensible for the time being, so let's get into it and let's talk about it. That article. All right, this article comes courtesy of a Red Links blog post. Red Links is an Ubisoft massive support team out of Sweden. And I gotta be honest here, this article is not new. This article was released around the time The Division was part of Stadia's catalog, or Division 2 rather, yet it is still relevant, I feel. So let's take a look at the article. You know how we do. Let me show you something. So this is the article right here again from Ubisoft Red Links, and it's directly from them. It looks like they've coordinated this whole communication themselves, and it says how Massive and Red Links brought the Division 2 to Stadia. It's written by Peter Martinsson, member of the Massive team in Sweden, April 9th, 2020. All right, so it reads as follows. In June 2019, Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment announced that they were working on Tom Clancy's Division 2 for Stadia, the new generation gaming platform from Google. And taking on this new technology while simultaneously working on Year 1 content in the Warlords of New York expansion, the Helsinki-based studio Ubisoft Red Links was called in to help based on their experience and expertise in releasing a game on Stadia. In June 2019, Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment announced that they were going to work on Tom Clancy's Division 2, the new generation platform, yada, yada, yada. We just read that. When we started work on the Stadia version last summer, we had already prepared a team to collaborate and help other Ubisoft studios. So we were ready to go, says Red Linux programmer Julian Ares. Our main focus was aspects like UI, controller inputs, the friends list, and platform-specific features like Stream Connect. We had a lot of learning to do though. Julian continues, Red Links hadn't worked with the Snowdrop engine or an online action shooter before this, but that didn't hinder the work in any way. The team in Helsinki got up to speed very fast, noted Ahmad Musan, lead online programmer at Massive Entertainment. That's one of our biggest strengths. They have a lot of seniority at the studio. Pay close attention to that. We didn't have to sit and discuss every little detail. Instead, they always found things themselves, and when they asked us anything, they always asked the right questions. It was the beginning of a close collaboration between the two studios. While Red Linux might not have worked with Snowdrop before, they had experience with Stadia, as they had previously released trials rising on the platform. With all their expertise, they were able to show us at Massive how Stadia works, says Ahmad. Developing for Stadia. There are several major differences between developing for Stadia and developing for traditional consoles and PCs. One example is that there are no development kits that you would usually have for a console. You don't deploy the game on your own PC. There's nothing physical, nothing tangible. Everything is in the cloud. After all, instead of downloading a build, you simply click a link to see the latest update and changes from the team. That means maintenance works needs to be approached differently. The machine isn't sitting there next to you on your local network. It affects everyone, including the people in data management and QC departments, Ahmad explains. It's not like you can just add more hard drives like you can locally. It means learning new ways of doing things, offset by the ease of, for example, transferring a build to QA departments instead of through the click of a link. Certain limitations need to be considered as a result. You need to think about iterations in other ways since they take longer to deploy, but become much faster to access for everyone, says Julian. That's very important. So when they talk about limitations and deploying things, it's not necessarily that the hardware that's powering Stadia is crappy. It's the tool sets that they use in the development process that are different from what they're used to. So there were plus and minuses about this. We heard about this earlier in a survey last year from other Stadia developers. You can do what you're used to doing, Ahmad added, that this isn't uncommon when it comes to new platforms. Essentially, every new piece of tech means we have to learn to do things in new ways. There's also the fact that there were now two separate networks that needed to be connected, Google's and Ubisoft's. That was one of the first big hurdles that the developers working on Stadia had to and did overcome. Luckily, the Division 2 servers already run partially in Google's cloud, which made it easier to solve technical issues that came with the game's development. At the same time, as you have those limitations, the machine Stadia uses are very powerful. I repeat, the machines Stadia uses are very powerful. Ahmad points out, it is a very refreshing platform to work with overall. Performance is really high and loading times are a lot shorter. And limitations are hardly something exclusive for Stadia. They are just different from what you've had on normal local machines. It's a very refreshing platform to work with overall. Performance is really high and loading times are a lot shorter. Odd continues. We'll continue on. And it says new platform, new features, new ways of working. They start talking about the power of the current iteration of Stadia and how they've used that to do things that just can't be done commonly on machines like Stream Connect and things like that. So very interesting stuff indeed. They close off by saying a new platform comes with its own demands and new ways of thinking. Ubisoft, Red Linux, and Massive Entertainment with our respective areas of expertise is a perfect example of how two studios can come together to overcome those obstacles. We need a team that can help us do what Ahmad says, and we found that in Red Linux. Wow, very interesting stuff indeed. I'm gonna leave a link to this article below, but when you read that, and this is something powerful because it's coming from the development efforts that brought us arguably the best port to the platform, as many people say, and to me, it's still up there in the top 3. With that being said, very important again, this is coming from them because when you read this, it doesn't sound like it's a hardware issue. It sounds like an ease of use, getting used to it issue, right? Right. Let's continue on. So with that all said and that all read, let's go to our conclusion. So here's my thoughts on all this. You have a game to this day that is fantastic looking, all right, on Stadia, in which fidelity has its demands. We know that. The Stadia platform seems to be powerful enough to do some great stuff in the cloud. We've seen several examples of this, not just with the Division 2, but with other games. And they do so without necessarily competing in that output fidelity with the current Xboxes and PlayStations, because it is a platform that has its own demands. Like any other platform, you need a team willing to work with its particulars in order to fine tune it. And as we've seen, coming with the most powerful hardware, period, doesn't always entice devs to pull the best out of it. What am I talking about? Well, prime example is the Xbox One X, the system that I stood in line day one to pick up once it was released. With all of its power, it had a marginal gap over its competition when games were released. That was until a dev put in the efforts that Ubisoft, Massive, and Red Lynx did and pushed the power all the way through. But they weren't willing to do that because Xbox wasn't their best-selling product and they didn't want to tee off PlayStation. So they figured, why put all this effort into this new hardware, you know what I'm saying, to squeeze out every single juice when we really make our money elsewhere? And as a result, big claims were not taken advantage of by the devs and the more powerful hardware. And as a result of that, the Xbox One X became the worst selling out of the Xbox PlayStation consoles last gen. And to put this into perspective, Xbox and PlayStation released 6 consoles between the two. No, 7, if you take into consideration the Xbox digital console. Out of the 7 consoles that were sold, the Xbox One X was the worst selling, had the worst selling rates out of all of them. So I think it's smarter that you address developer effort on the hardware that's already capable, as spoken to by Ubisoft, Massive, and Red Lynx. And then confirm developer ease of use and increase performance with the players. Then you plot hardware changes. I think this is the most sensible way to ensure that we as the consumers are getting everything possible from the upgrades. And this, my friends, is another reason why I can't wait for tomorrow's keynote, as they should be talking about these developer tool sets, as it's getting a lot of attention and stuff like that. And we're hoping that this is addressed to our satisfaction. But again, by a lot of the evidence that is in front of us, doesn't appear so much, and we have the games as an example. It doesn't appear that it's a hardware capability thing. It's an effort thing, as we've been arguing here for a while. And that's it from your boy MM2K. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, who cares what I think? But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, the Stadia Dosage. With all that said, appreciate, love all of y'all. Thank y'all so much for y'all support. Can't wait till tomorrow's keynote. Have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.